Good Saturday afternoon. Mike Naso here from the IPR YouTube Tropical Video Update page with the latest on our tropical storm off the coast of Florida. It was a hurricane. It's been weakening. It's been dealing with a lot of dry, stable air as well as wind shear. However, there are still hurricane warnings out here because we expect it to re-intensify into a hurricane and move near or over the Florida coast in the next 24 to 36 hours. There's Isaias on the left side of the screen, very close to Florida, still pounding Andros Island and areas of the Bahamas with gusty winds and heavy rains. We have another system here, a tropical wave interacting with an upper level low in the central Atlantic. This could become a tropical storm and make a turn likely out to sea, but Bermuda, you might want to keep an eye on it. And we have our tropical depression, what's left of it up here, weakening. It did not become a tropical storm, but then there's another wave leaving Africa, so it's now August, and hurricane season is in full swing. Let's get the latest now on Tropical Storm Isaias. As of 5 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center, it was at 25.1 north, 78.7 west, winds down to 70. The Air Force aircraft recon is flying out there. They'll be flying the next few hours to give us the latest data, but it does appear to have weakened significantly from the 85 miles an hour it was yesterday. It is moving northwest at 10, and that motion is expected to continue and then bend to the north and then the northeast just enough to either make landfall or just scrape the east coast of Florida and then move north and eventually make a landfall in either North or South Carolina by Tuesday morning, likely as a weaker tropical storm, but still a lot of gusty winds and heavy rains. We do have watches and warnings out. I'll go over them very quickly. We have a hurricane warning from Boca Raton to the Volusia Flagler County line, same as yesterday, as well as for the Northwest Bahamas. And we have a tropical storm warning from north of Ocean Reef to south of Boca Raton, including Lake Okeechobee. And we also now have a tropical storm watch from the North Florida coast all the way to South Santee River, South Carolina, with the expectation of these winds making their way towards the Carolinas by the end of the weekend and Monday. Again, that's the track forecast right now on Isaias, but you can see in the longer range, it is expected to make that move over New England. So by Wednesday, Thursday, way up here in the Canadian Maritime, so we're going to get rid of him, but in the meantime, it's going to be a pretty sloshy early week. Here's a visible satellite loop of the tropical storm, and you can see a very vigorous circulation center right there. It crossed over Andros Island, and the interaction with that island on the tiny circulation, along with the wind shear and the dry, stable air, really did a number on it. You can see it's very naked right now, and that is not favorable for hurricane development. Nevertheless, here are some storms and the outflow of the storm moving into Florida, and that's creating some nasty weather along certain areas of the coastline. We have had gusty winds. As a matter of fact, recently, the Dania Pier in Broward County had a gust almost to 60 miles per hour, and Juno Beach, 40 miles an hour. So you're getting tropical storm force gusts here along the southeast Florida coast. So that's all in association with Isaias as he moves northwest. And we're going to see if he gets this convection over the center, because if it does, over those warm Gulf Stream waters, we will likely see some strengthening back up to a Category 1 hurricane. Now here's a map of upper-level wind shear. Now to give you guys an idea, you can see this green down here, this high pressure, this clockwise flow is very favorable when it's over the top of a tropical cyclone. However, our cyclone is up here near Andros Island, so it's just getting undercut with that wind shear from the south-southwest, and that, along with drier air and low humidity, just did a real number on it. It really did. Here's the radar. You can see there is still a lot of moisture on the north side as it leaves Andros, and areas here, Homestead, Miami, Pembroke Pines, Coral Springs. You guys are all here watching very carefully, because if some of this rainfall and heavy weather heads your way, look at this band right here, headed anywhere from West Palm to Miami, it's going to be a rough day. So I know it was a nice afternoon, the sun was out, there were people on the beach, but just be warned, you could have water spouts, gusty winds, crashing waves with this tropical cyclone offshore as it moves to the northwest and makes that close approach over the next 24 hours. Rainfall appears to be the biggest threat right now, although those were some gusty winds considering the storm is still offshore. This is over the next 7 days from the Prediction Center. Look at these rainfall rates all the way up the eastern seaboard. So if you're sitting up there eating a lobster in Maine right now, don't think that Isaias ain't going to be raining on you come Tuesday or Wednesday. So we're going to have to deal with heavy rainfall all the way up the coastline, and that's why we are always concerned about the threat of flooding, even inland. Remember, it's not the strength of a system when it comes to the rainfall. You could have a weak system. I remember in 2001, Allison, weak tropical storm went into Texas. It sat and spun all the way up the Gulf Coast and eastern seaboard and caused billions in damage and killed dozens of people because of flooding. So again, we don't want to see too much heavy rain, but it looks like Isaias will bring that to the East Coast over the coming days. Here's another look on the Miami radar, and you can see there, it does look like it's strengthening some thunderstorms here. There's been some lightning here in the north side of the circulation, but again, it's definitely dealing with that shear, almost like hitting a brick wall. It's just not progressing the way it should, but still heavy weather here moving into Florida. Lake Okeechobee here, you guys are under a tropical storm advisory because we're going to have heavy weather moving in. So again, be on the lookout for severe weather, gusty winds, crashing waves, and of course the water rise is always a threat as well as the system moves on up towards the northwest. It did move a little west earlier as it weakened, but it's kind of resumed a northwest motion. Nevertheless, it's going to be really close. It might cross the coast, and if it does, that will be a landfall. And if it is back to a hurricane, that would be the landfall of a hurricane in Florida. So that's what you got to be prepared for right now in the hurricane warning area. To recap, as of 5 p.m. this Saturday afternoon and evening on Isaias, number 1, hurricane conditions and dangerous storm surge will continue in the Northwest Bahamas tonight. Number 2, hurricane conditions are expected along portions of the Florida East Coast on Sunday tomorrow, with tropical storm conditions expected to begin tonight. I mentioned those gusts we've already had to tropical storm force. Preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Number 3, dangerous storm surge possible along the Florida East Coast from Jupiter Inlet to Ponte Vedra Beach, where water rises of 2 to 4 feet above ground level are possible. Residents there should follow advice given by local emergency officials. Number 4, heavy rains, potentially life-threatening flash flooding in the Bahamas, as well as the east coast of the U.S. Minor river flooding and moderate river flooding is possible along the Carolinas and Virginia early next week. Remember that flooding we saw in the Dominican Republic? Same type of deal possible if the rainfall gets too heavy. And finally, number 5, tropical storm watches and warnings are in effect for portions of the East Coast from northeast Florida to South Carolina, and you can bet there will be additional watches and warnings as Isaias makes his move northward over the weekend and the early part of the week. You can see it looks very poor on infrared, but look at that right there. You see this little thunderstorm blowing up on the north side of the center? It's getting over the Gulf Stream, and so intensification is forecast right now back to a hurricane before that very close approach or landfall in the Florida East Coast over the next 24 hours. So stay on alert in the hurricane warning area. We'll continue to watch it. And I'm Mike Naso. That's the latest right now, Saturday evening, on Tropical Storm Isaias. I'll see you next time.